Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Committee of Adjustment meeting for Tuesday, April 12th. And our agenda was published on our website, and I'm going to introduce our members. I have Member Allen, Member Allwood, Member Clark, Member Martin, and I'm Member McQueen. I'll be chairing this evening's meeting. And we have Planner Rapke will be representing our files from the municipality, and Dagmar Reich, oh, I'm going to say that wrong again, is our planner, and our deputy clerk is our secretary, who's going to be keeping us on our meeting for sure. So Dagmar is our secretary treasurer. So again, welcome everyone. Okay, so we have the published agenda that was, like I said, on our website. Are there any declarations of pecuniary interest with members of the Committee of Adjustment? Member Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be declaring a conflict on 5.1 as the applicants are my wife's aunt and uncle.
Okay, so then I'll just ask you, when we start that file, then I won't ask you again, just do what you have to do, and then when we're done, we'll ask you to come back. Okay. Are there any other declaration of pecuniary interest with the members? Okay, moving on then, we have the minutes of March 8th. Would somebody care to move and second those minutes from the committee? Member Allwood, do we have a seconder? Seconder, Member Martin. Do we have any errors or omissions with regards to those minutes? Okay, hearing none. All in favor of those minutes? Okay, that's carried unanimously. There are no deferred files, and so starting with our agenda, we have 3 new files this evening, and starting off is 5.1, and this is with regards to BO4 2022 bachelor, and Councillor Allen has declared a pecuniary interest, so he will be stepping aside for this particular file. So I will read off the regulations here, and we'll proceed through this public hearing for this particular file. So this public meeting was called under Section 53 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended with respect to an application for consent file BO4 2022 affecting lands owned by Stanley Bachelor and Jean Mabel Bachelor, described as being legal description as lot 167 and 168, concession 1, NETSR Artemisia, Grey Highlands. Civic address is 773713 Highway 10, and that's in Grey Highlands. And the notice of this public meeting was mailed by standard class mail on March 10th, 2022, to the property owner and to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property, in addition to all agencies and persons identified in the Planning Act. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of Grey Highlands before the consent is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the municipality of Grey Highlands to the Ontario Lands Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of Grey Highlands before the consent is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Lands Tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. It is important to note that if you wish to be mailed a notice of the notice of decision and you do not live within 120 meters of the subject property, you must provide your request in writing to the Planning Department of the municipality of Grey Highlands. The electronic registration does not represent your written request. Staff can provide direction to you in applying in writing for the request for notice. At this time, the municipal planner will explain the purpose and the effect of the proposed consent, read the planning report, and advise of any comments received. Planner Rapke.
Thank you. The subject property is a 40.5 hectare lot and is located south of Flesherton on Highway 10. The proposal is to sever an area of around 19 hectares that will be merged with an existing 0.4 hectare parcel that abuts the subject lands along the Highway 10 frontage, and that is also owned by the applicants. This 0.4 hectare parcel was previously created through consent in the 1980s. A certificate of cancellation must be issued for the consent that created the 0.4 hectare lot to ensure that the parcels remain merged in law. Once merged with the existing 0.4 hectare parcel, the severed lot will have a total area of around 19.4 hectares and a frontage of 191 meters. The retained lot will have an area of around 20.6 hectares and a frontage of around 201 meters. There's a slight jog in the new proposed lot line to account for existing fence locations. Aside from the slight jog, the resulting lot will generally be a regular rectangular shape. The purpose and effect then is to sever a parcel with an area of 19 hectares and a frontage of 130.5 meters to be merged with the abutting 0.4 hectare parcel, and to cancel the consent relating to part lot 167, concession 1, Northeast Toronto Sydenham Road, Artemisia, part 1, 17R2095 Grey Highlands, as in GS 149091. At a high level, the planning report, there's not much going on here. We're not creating a lot. Both lots are going to generally meet the 50-acre lot size required for the zone, the rural zone. You are allowed lots smaller than that in the rural designation, which this is in. They're both generally going to be farm sized. The only planning kind of outstanding concern is a zoning amendment to address the marginally undersized lot that will be severed, the one that will be created as a result of the merger, and to change the existing rural residential zoning on that smaller lot to rural, so that it'll be zoned to rural with an exception for a 19 hectare lot rather than a 20 hectare lot as per the standard provisions of the zone. In terms of comments received, Grey County Planning and Development. The subject lands are designated rural in the county OP. Consents are permitted for lot addition purposes or to correct lot boundaries where the land being added is to be added to an existing use, provided the enlarged lot and retained lots are greater than 0.4 hectares each. The above noted lot density provision does not apply to lot additions. There's a table that notes the maximum number of lots per original lot size. The proposed severed and retained lands are greater than 0.4 hectares, and the county has no concern in this regard. Appendix B indicates that the northern corner of the property contains significant woodlands. It is recommended that any new development be directed at least 120 meters from the edge of this mapped feature, and further comments be received from the Conservation Authority. MDS does not apply to lot additions. It is recommended that further comments be received from MTO to ensure access can be gained to the proposed enlarged lot from Highway 10. Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, there's a long version of their comments attached to the report. The summary of their comments is that the proposed consent to sever is considered acceptable by SVCA staff. Ministry of Transportation commented, the proposal has been considered in accordance with the requirements of the Public Transportation Highway Improvement Act, MTO's Highway Access Management Guidelines, and all related policies. Following outlines are comments. Subject property is located within MTO's permit control area, and as such, approval and permits are required before any development activities take place on site. Should be demolition, grading, construction, or alteration of the site. MTO supports the proposed consent. Upon registration of the consent, MTO will permit one access to the retained parcel and one access to the severed parcel. MTO will not permit any further access to Highway 10. After approval, the owner shall apply for MTO entrance permits to define the uses taking place on the severed and retained lands. Application can be made at the link they provided. Grey Highlands Transportation, Building, and Environmental Services all have no concerns. Bell Canada commented that they have no concerns. In conclusion, the proposed lot creation complies with the provincial policy statement, the official plans, and has generally good regard for planning matters. My recommendation is that it be approved, subject to the following conditions: payment of any outstanding municipal taxes, payment of the approval fee, a zoning bylaw amendment be passed to rezone the severed lot and enlarged lot to rural with an exception for an undersized lot, that the property to be severed be conveyed as a lot addition, and that the applicant solicitor provide an undertaking in writing that this condition will be fulfilled. Section 50, subsection 3 of the Planning Act applies to any subsequent conveyance of or transaction involving the parcel of land that is the subject of this consent. and a certificate of cancellation be registered on title of the one that is to be canceled, and that a certificate of cancellation be issued by the committee in relation to that same lot. So that is part lot 167, concession 1, Northeast Toronto Sydenham Road, Artemisia, part 1, 17R2095, as in GS 149091, being pin 372430164. That's what I have for my report.
So just before I go to questions, Planner Rocky, so are you suggesting that passing the one decision will create the lot, but also cancel the other lot all in one motion? Is that what your conditions are listed?
I've kind of broken it down as two recommend, like there will be kind of two things issued. So there you'll be issuing consent and you'll be issuing certificate of cancellation.
Okay.
And kind of
Okay,
doing
so we'll have two votes. I'll need two decisions then on those 2 points. Is that correct?
I would do it. Yeah, that keeps it nice and simple. Yeah.
Okay. So just to keep it clean, that's what we did a few meetings. Our last meeting, we did the same. So we'll be consistent on that for sure. Okay, thank you for that. Any questions to the planning report from the committee members? Okay, I see none. So, okay. At this time, the committee will hear any presentation by the applicant or their agent. Is there somebody here this evening wishing to speak to the application?
So if you're in attendance wishing to speak on this file, please raise your hand. If you're calling in, you can raise your hand by pressing *6 on your phone. Or if you've joined us electronically, the raise hand button should be right at the bottom of your screen on the right. Okay, we have Jean and Stanley Batchelor wishing to speak.
Okay. See them come on the screen. I'll welcome them.
Should just take a second here.
There they are. Good evening and welcome. Oh, they just went on me. There we are. Good evening and welcome to our meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
We have nothing to add.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that then. That's pretty straightforward. If there just stay on the line in case there's some questions from committee members or the public, okay? Are there any questions from committee members to the applicant and agent? Go ahead, Member Martin.
Thank you. I have a question that maybe the agent or the applicant will be able to answer, and then I had a couple for Planner Rapke as well. The one for the owner of the property, there is a house existing on the property. Is it staying?
Okay. Jean and Stanley, can you answer that?
It will be with there's a retained, like lot 168 is retained with a very small amount of 167 with it. And that's the only place that's where the house is.
But the house is remaining.
Lot
You're not, your plan is not to tear down the house.
No, we just built it 16 years ago.
Okay.
Just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
All right. Is there anything else, Member Martin?
So my next question was for Planner Rapke. I had a little bit of trouble understanding what the MTO was saying there. Is that the two existing driveways are remaining in their existing location? Because the one looks like it straddles the retained parcel.
Planner Rapke?
The MTO just indicated there will only be one entrance per lot, and that they had no objections to that. I don't think there was one straddling a lot line from my memory.
No, there isn't.
I think there was just the one entrance existing that's like a clear driveway, And the other one, from what Jean had explained to me, when they originally severed, there was a requirement to put in an entrance. And I think you can kind of see the remnants of something that's not like a robust entrance, but you can see it's raised up in the ditch and everything to that existing severed lot.
I think
There's two existing driveways on the drawing that they gave us. That's why I'm asking.
and I see Jean and Stanley have their hand up, so maybe they're able to add some information.
There's a slight jog that allows the oldest driveway, the driveway that goes into 168. There's slight jog in the lot line that allows that driveway to remain where it is.
But the other driveway is at the end of the block we severed back in '86. And they required we put a culvert in, and all the culverts there, I can, so it's right near the north side of the lot, the land.
So currently you have a driveway for the house that you built 16 years ago, and then there's a driveway in for that lot that you created back in '86.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Member Martin, do you have anything to add to that?
I don't. I'm just concerned that MTO has said that they will not permit any further access from Highway 10 into the properties, right? Either or, right? So I want to make sure that the one into the new retained parcel is going to be a recognized entrance more than anything else.
Yeah, I think Member Martin, or sorry, Member Rupke may have some further information there. So it's a good concern. So go ahead, Planner Rupke.
So the retained lot will have a very obvious entrance with gravel and everything that connects to the existing driveway that you can kind of see just with your eyes when you're out there. The severed lot will be stuck to the existing lot that was previously severed. In front of that existing lot is a entrance. I would not say it has a driveway. There's an entrance with a built-up portion in the ditch that can then be, formally used as a driveway when something gets developed here. And MTO is just saying one per lot, so there will still end up being one per lot at each of those locations.
Thank you for that. Member Martin, any other comments there? Or?
So then I'm satisfied on that. So the last comment I had was I didn't notice a posting when I was out there. And I just wanted to just highlight that. And I only highlight it because 2 out of the 3 properties that I'd visited did not have postings. So.
Well, that is a requirement that they are supposed to have those postings out there. So Councillor Elwood, comment?
Yeah, I looked for the posting and there was a posting on the lot beside it on the telephone pole. I wasn't able to get close enough to it to determine if that was the actual posting, but there was a posting in the area, right?
Yeah. No, it's on a post up
On a fence post.
on a fence post above the wire fence.
Okay.
It's been there for 2-3 weeks now.
Okay, thank you.
So did any member of the committee see that?
Member Clark?
Member Clark did? Okay.
Yes,
As long as
I
somebody
did
saw
see
it.
it.
Okay. All right. So then any other comments to the applicants? Okay. Then moving on, then we'll go to the public then. Again, any person present wishing to object, support, or ask general questions of the proposed consent, please indicate and state their name and address. Is there any comments from the general public with regards to this file?
So again, if you wish to speak, if you could raise your hand. Or *6 to unmute if you're phoning in. I'm not seeing anyone.
Did we lose the bachelors? Are they still?
I put them back to attendee. They're welcome to raise their hand again if they have anything further to add.
Yeah, I was going to make sure that if they had any questions to the conditions that were read out. So I just want to make sure.
I can bring them back in right now.
Okay, so Jean and Stanley, do you have any questions to the conditions that were read out by our planner, or do you need to hear those again?
No, that's,
No.
we get a written report on this, do we? Mailed to us?
We get a report of your decision.
You will, yes, you will. Absolutely, but the conditions that were read out, that sort of lays out the conditions that you must meet to fulfill the conditions of the severance that were listed out. Are you aware of those conditions, like pay your taxes, applying for a rezoning?
Yeah.
Or would you wish to have those
Yeah.
reread?
Yeah.
You're okay with those?
No,
So,
no, but as long as we get it in writing,
that are wrote out to us.
Yep, oh yeah, definitely, most definitely.
Okay,
Okay,
that's
all right.
good. Thank you.
okay, thank you for that. So those comments have been made. There's no other comments from the public. Any last comments from the committee members? All right, so we have two decisions here this evening. One is for the consent and the other one is for canceling the original 0.4 hectare lot in order to create the new severance. So to start off with then, so Councillor Allen has declared conflict of interest, so he won't be voting on this file. Member Allwood, your decision on this file.
I approve the consent with the conditions as read.
Okay,
Would you like me to
member-
approve the cancellation, or are you going to ask that question?
I'll do a separate vote for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
No problem. Member Martin, your position on this file.
I also approve the consent with the conditions as read. Thank you.
Member Clark.
Yes, I support the consent with the conditions as read.
Okay, thank you. I also support the file as to the conditions that have been read out, subject to a 20-day appeal period from the day it is mailed out. You have during that time, there is an appeal. If there are no appeals during that 20 days, then you may proceed with the conditions that have been attached to this file. And you have a certain period of time to meet all those conditions. So this file has been carried. Okay, it's been supported, it's been approved, and it's been carried. The other vote we have now, as we were told in the planning report, we must pass a motion to cancel the consent. Cancel the consent that's currently in place. That's for the 0.4 hectares. So I'll go through that as well. So let's do it the same way. So Member Martin, your position on canceling the previous consent?
So I'll approve the cancellation.
Okay, so that's support. Okay, Member Clark?
Yes, I support the cancellation of the previous lot.
Okay, Member Allwood?
I support issuing the certificate of cancellation for the previous lot.
Okay, I also support the cancellation of the previous lot. Councillor Allen has declared a conflict of interest. That has been approved for the cancellation of that original 0.4 hectare lot, which was, understanding, created 1986, 1987. All right, so from that, the hearing for this particular file is now finished. Thank you, everyone, for participating. Moving on to our agenda then, and we can bring Councillor Allen back. Welcome back. Just pulling up my agenda here again. All right, so we're on to item 5.2, and this is with regards to AO2 2022, and it's Zimmer, and it's for a minor variance. This public meeting was called under section 45 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended with respects to an application for a minor variance, AO2 2022, affecting lands owned by Donald Gregory Zimmer and Kathy Leigh Zimmer, described as being legal description Park East STPL 20 Artemisia closed by GS 33269, Park Mill Reserve Part 5 PL 20 Artemisia, as in R524059, secondly, Grey Highlands, civic address 173 Blue Mountains Maples Road. The notice of this public meeting was mailed by standard mail on the on March 10th, 2022, to the property owner and to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property, in addition to all agencies and persons identified in the Planning Act. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of Great Highlands before the minor variance is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the municipality of Great Highlands to the Ontario Lands Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of Great Highlands before the minor variance is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Lands Tribunal unless in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. At this time, the municipal planner will explain the purpose and the effect of the proposed minor variance, read the planning report, and advise if any comments received. Planner Repke.
The subject property contains an existing dwelling and detached garage. The dwelling is set back approximately 20 meters from the high water mark. The proposal is to construct a single-story, three-season dwelling on the lake side of the dwelling. The proposed addition will require a setback of 15.2 meters from the high water mark, whereas the minimum setback from the high water mark is 30 meters in the residential shoreline zone. The existing dwelling already violates the 30-meter setback requirement and is therefore a legal non-conforming structure. The proposed variance is requested under the tests of Section 45, subsection 2 of the Planning Act. The two tests under Section 45(2) of the Act are whether the application is desirable for appropriate development of the subject property and whether the application will result in undue adverse impacts on the surrounding properties and neighborhood. The specific purpose and effect is to grant relief from the minimum rear yard setback requirement of Section 7.4.2 of the zoning bylaw. The variance shall permit a setback of 15.2 meters from the high water mark, whereas Section 7.4.2 requires a setback of 30 meters. Skip ahead to comments received for a moment. County planning commented the subject lands are designated inland lakes and shoreline, which permits low density residential development as well as hazard lands. As per Appendix A, it would appear that the existing deck mostly aligns with the existing hazard land boundaries, and the proposed addition would appear to project further into the hazard lands than the existing deck. I'll note the Conservation Authority comments address that aspect later. Section 7.2 of the county's official plan notes that new development is generally directed away from hazard lands, while Section 7.2 subsection 3 notes that minor extensions or enlargements of existing buildings and structures may be permitted subject to the policies of Section 7. Section goes on to list a variety of factors that must be considered if development in the hazard lands is proposed, including the necessity to safety to address the hazard and ensure new hazards are not created or aggravated, no environmental impacts, safe entry to and from the site, and advice to the Conservation Authority, and that there's no feasible location outside the hazard lands. From a climate change perspective, the county would suggest the further encroachments of buildings on hazard land areas around the lakes and shoreline should generally be avoided, given that current water and landscape conditions may not mirror conditions of the future. In this case, it is recommended that detailed comments are received from the Conservation Authority to understand the current delineation of the hazard lands and whether encroachment of the hazard lands would be appropriate in this instance. As per Appendix B, the subject property contains significant woodlands and is adjacent to Lake Eugenia. It is recommended that comments be received from GSCA to determine if an EIS potential floodplain study may be appropriate for this proposal. Grey Sauble Conservation Authority, there's a long version of their comments. In summary of their comments, they note they have no objection to approval of the subject application as it does not encroach into the hazard area and no natural heritage or water impacts are anticipated. A permit from our office is required for this proposal. Just to clarify there, zoning mapping, the county mapping, and so on, it's a fuzzy boundary for where a hazard line is delineated. Sometimes it's a bit bigger in the mapping than it is in real life. The Conservation Authority has a lot more refined mapping, just internally, even from a 2D perspective. Most of them, I believe GSCA also have the ability to do a 3D system where they can kind of inspect stuff from their computer to see where the elevation change occurs. I don't believe they did a site inspection here, but the 15 meters is generally delineated as the hazard setback, and this will be just beyond that. So from the GSCA's perspective, this was not encroaching into the true hazard boundary. Grey Highlands Building commented the applicant is to be advised that a building permit will be required for the proposed addition. Engineering may be required to confirm the existing condition of the foundation to ensure adequate foundation depth to permit the new addition to be attached. All construction must conform to the requirements in the Ontario Building Code and applicable law in place at the time of permit submission. Grey Highlands Transportation, Emergency Services, and Public Utilities had no concerns. In terms of the analysis I provided, the report provides an overview of the two tests, which again are whether the application is desirable for appropriate development of the subject property and whether the application will result in undue adverse impacts on the surrounding properties and neighborhood. I asked committee to note, so specifically under this test, OP policies as they are written are not specifically technically legally applicable to these tests, but only insofar as those two criteria. So if an OP policy could speak to why something would be having undue adverse impact on the surrounding properties, then perhaps it becomes relevant. But the hard just 30-meter setback requirement of the Grey Highlands OP does not actually apply to these tests here. My opinion, looking at the surrounding neighboring properties there, the building line, everyone else was closer. This is going to match the existing building line. It's not going to provide any or create any site obstruction from those two back decks, given that it will be matching them. Conservation Authority noted no significant impact that would be happening to any natural features or anything. So I believe it meets both tests here of it being desirable and appropriate and not having undue adverse impacts on the surrounding property. So my recommendation is that it be approved.
Okay, Matt. Thank you for that. Any comments to the planner from the committee members? All right. Oh, go ahead, Member Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Following up with Member Martin's comment from the previous file, I was listening about the notice not being visible. I searched high and low for the notice for this meeting and I could not find it. I'm not sure if it was ever put up. So I think until I hear from the applicant or agent, I'll hold the rest of my comments. Thank you.
All right, I'll put it out to other committee members. Did anybody else see or any notice? Councillor Alwood.
I too did not see that notice. There was quite a busy area. There were some building permits and such up on a different piece of or an adjacent piece of property, but I couldn't see the notice for this file. Thank you.
Okay. We can maybe come back to that when we get to the applicant then and on that process. Any other comments to the planner from committee members? All right. So then moving forward then, at this time, the committee will hear any presentation by the applicant or their agent. Is there somebody here representing this file wish to speak?
So we do have two hands up. We have a Mary Poirier from the Planning Associates, and we also have Scott Folkert. So I'm not sure, Planner Repke, can you clarify maybe, or maybe both of them, one's the applicant, one's the agent?
Mary Poirier would be the agent.
Okay.
I would go with
And the owner would be Scott?
I do not believe so off the top of my head. So I'll go with the planning.
Okay.
Crew first.
Yep. There is a section later on for any other comments, correct, Chair? So at this time, you've just asked for the owner or the agent. Okay, so this is Marie.
Okay. Okay. So they are. I see a hands up. So they're in the. So yeah, at this time, do you have anything to add to this application as the agent? Go ahead.
Good evening, Mayor, members of committee. My name is Marie Poirier, and I'm the principal and owner of Marie Poirier Planning and Associates. I want to thank Mr. Ratke for his report and his assistance and cooperation with preparing his report and recommendation for us. I concur with his recommendation and his analysis, and it reflects all of the justification that we have provided in our planning justification report. My planner, Stephanie Sharp, who has just recently moved as of last Friday, was the planner assigned to this file, and she did post onto the property the required posting. If you're saying it's not there, I don't understand why it wouldn't be, but I know that she made the effort to do that. And I would suggest that maybe it just wasn't seen, but we're very diligent about doing our postings. We fully understand we are at the tribunal often, and we understand the importance of providing notice. So that's what I can provide you with that at this particular time. But I would respectfully request your approval on this application. In my opinion, it does satisfy the test of section 45(2). It's consistent with the character and setbacks of all of the other dwellings. And the Conservation Authority has no concerns with it, which is where I would have had a concern with it as well. And based on their comments, I'm quite satisfied myself that it does result in good planning and satisfies those tests. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you. And I know that you had quite a lengthy report there as well. And do stay on because there may be some questions here from the committee members and also the public. But I did see something come in the chat that said that the posting was posted on a tree. I have it here. We posted the notice on the tree right by the driveway and sent pictures to the planning department. So I'm not sure. That's from Scott, who is the son-in-law. I don't know, Scott, are you able to speak? Good evening, Scott.
Hi, sorry about that. Yeah, we posted back, I think it was March 19th. I could look back at my email dates, and I confirmed with somebody in the Grey Highlands building department, as well as the planning department followed up, as they didn't think they saw the notice, and I sent pictures to them of the notice attached to the tree. And we had signed the affidavit that it was hung. So I'm not sure what happened there. It was right by the driveway to the property, so I'm not sure.
I know I think there was a windy period there one day there in the middle of that week, but just hold on to that thought there. So back to committee members. So the committee members raised that part, and so I guess to member or sort of planner Rapke, then you have that on file that it was posted, or maybe Dagmar, I'm not sure which. Do you have any comment or showing that in the file that it was posted?
Yes, we do. I have the affidavit and the picture.
Okay, thank you for that clarity on that. I'm not sure in the requirements of securing it fairly well, but if you have that in place, I guess that is the requirements of the applicant. Just before we go to other questions, any other comments about that with regards to committee members? Do you have any concern, or I guess going to you, it's part of the requirements, but Planner Rapke, as I read into the regulations, all those individuals that are within 120 meters are circulated, correct? So all the neighbors would have known from that there was an application proceeding?
Yeah, we send notice by mail to everyone within the prescribed distance.
Right. So before we move on, then, is there any more questions or thoughts on that with regards to the posting? Or can I proceed? Okay. All right, so then moving on then. So are there any questions then from committee members with regards to the planning report to Mary or Marie with regards to the individual who is the applicant for this file? Is there any questions, or even to the I guess Scott, who is the son-in-law? Are there any questions at this point with regards to the planner's report? Okay. Seeing none. So do stay on the line, both Marie and Scott. I'm going to go to the public now. Any person present wishing to object, support, or have some general questions with regards to the minor variance, please indicate and state your name and address. Is there anybody here wishing to speak to this file from the public?
Again, if you're joining by phone, it's *6 to raise your hand, or sorry, *6 to unmute, *9 to raise your hand. I'm not seeing any hands at this time.
Okay, all right. So then, are there any last questions, comments with regards to the minor variance from the committee members? Go ahead, Member Allen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the in the planning report, the aerial view, and it's showing about 5 or 6 cottages along there. And I agree that this one is the only one that doesn't, well, the new one is set back quite a bit further, but the rest are all close to the edge of the water. But I'm also on Grey County maps, and if you pull back after the new house, there's one cottage that is close to the water, but carrying on around. All the rest are, some of them pulled way back from the water. So I guess I'm just a little bit concerned about the trend of moving cottages closer. And I know a lot of these were built before the bylaw came into effect, but to me, there's a big difference between a deck that is closer to the water than actual living quarters. Just at the last council meeting, there was a presentation from somebody worried about water quality on the lake, and we've heard that in the past. I just think with these cottages creeping closer and closer to the water, I'm just not sure I agree with that. We have, if you look at other parts of the Planning Act, there's all sorts of lots in communities that don't have septic or water that are very small, but now we're required to have at least 1 acre to, because they've obviously learned from past mistakes, and these lots are way under 1 acre, and the cottages or houses are getting bigger. Lot coverage is getting more. I'm on the fence here, so I guess I need some encouragement, perhaps, or some further justification from somebody. Thank you.
Yeah, I see the applicant has raised her hand, so I'm going to go to the applicant, Marie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sure, I'm happy to provide some further justification, because as a professional planner, I look at these things as well. And these lots along the lake are all the same size and configuration, and are definitely undersized. Undersized now in terms of bylaw requirements, and were all created prior to the bylaw, as were the setbacks. So it's kind of really difficult sometimes to turn back time. That's not to say that that's pure justification for allowing a reduced front yard setback. But in this particular case, in these particular lots, because they're so long and narrow, it doesn't leave much opportunity to expand any kind of a dwelling unless it's into the front yard, especially with this lot, or else we're going to have other setback problems. Right now, we're not exceeding lot coverage. We're way under lot coverage. And the other thing I'd like to add is that this isn't sort of going to provide the same type of bulk, nor will it provide the impact of a full-blown addition to the dwelling. This is a 3-season screened-in porch. And I think that lends itself to creating a situation where there is no bulk, and addressing that test in the Planning Act for a minor variance under section 45(2), where this is what you have to be able to demonstrate, that it won't have any impacts. And as Planner Rapke pointed out, that's the test. And is it desirable for the development of the property? Yes, it is. It's becoming more and more important to have a screened in area and a sun-sheltered area for sitting outside. So on the basis of the lot size, the history, the nature of the addition, and the tests under the Planning Act for this particular minor variance, I respectfully submit that as further justification, and I hope I've addressed the member's concern.
Okay, thank you. Member Allen, do you have any follow-up to that before I go to Member Martin?
Sorry, just couldn't hit that microphone button. I'll wait to hear from Member Martin before I comment further. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Member Martin, do you have a question to the applicant or agent?
So sometimes when we think about infrastructure and what's already there and things like that, and as Member Allen has already said, we're thinking of septic and we're thinking of well, in this case, or water and that kind of stuff. We also should take into consideration the roadway. And I don't even know if that's a municipally owned road or if that's a private road there, or if there are services to that road. And I'm talking about garbage, snowplow, whatever, who maintains that road. But it's also the consideration that we have to sort of think, because if we're increasing traffic by increasing, property value, or however you want to say that, on that road, I think that road was in pretty poor shape when I was there. Now it was, thaws coming out of the ground, and a lot of gravel roads are in pretty poor shape right now, but I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay.
So I guess my question is, who owns the roadway? How about we start there?
Right. Okay, I'll go to Planner Rapke for that. Planner Rapke?
This is a private road here. The zoning bylaw, if you're on a vacant lot, you can't develop without frontage on an improved public street. However, there's an exemption from that prohibition for structures that were legally erected on the date of passing of the bylaw. We always operate under the assumption that all the cottages on Eugenia are legal non-conforming. They're all like pretty old. They're all 1950s, 60s era, predating any zoning bylaw that we had. And then everything that was passed subsequently, you can't unzone the acquired. So it's acquired rights is kind of the principle that applies here, which kind of goes to the whole decision of acquired rights. So this structure gets to exist where it is now in violation of the 30-meter minimum setback under the zoning bylaw, under the OP. When making a planning decision, again, the tests here of is it impacting the neighborhood and desirable for the development of the property? Those concerns are good concerns, like Lake Eugenia, the phosphates and all that happen in the lake. They're legitimate concerns, and increased lot coverage, legitimate concerns, but on an individual application, if that one thing by itself, if it's not demonstrated that it's going to have a negative impact on the feature that is being protected, the decision is kind of to make the approval. Again, if there was evidence that it would have the impact, then it wouldn't meet that test and it shouldn't be approved. In this situation, the conservation authorities are commenting agency with kind of the most clout and knowledge in this area, and they're not seeing a concern. There's also a discrepancy, I would note, between our zoning bylaw, our official plan, and what the conservation authority's normal hazard line is. 15 meters is the standard for conservation, and for some reason our plan goes to 30. The county plan, I would note, does not have that same 30-meter setback for inland lakes and shoreline as our plan. It's only a 15-meter. So ours goes above and beyond, which a lot of places do. It becomes a challenge to implement that restriction when all of these places already have acquired rights, and it's really hard, and you can't even really hold someone to that again under this test and this scenario. So those are kind of some comments I'll provide there. And yeah, the road is private, but it kind of doesn't factor into the decision in this scenario.
Thank you for that. Member Martin, do you have any regards to that comments that came back?
Not at this time, thank you.
Okay, I have Member Allwood. Then I'll go back to Member Allen, if that's okay. Member Allwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't think we should lose sight that basically we're talking about a screened-in porch here that's being slightly enlarged. That's set back further than the building line of the neighboring properties. I don't see it putting additional load on the septic system for the cottage. And as the planner just pointed out, the hazard line issue is in the eyes of the Conservation Authority is not an issue. So I have no trouble with I don't share the concerns that Member Allen spoke of earlier. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll go back to Member Allen. Do you have any follow-up from that? I see Marie still has her hand up, but go ahead, Member Allen.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the few minutes that since I spoke before, I've been going through the report, and nowhere does it say that I can find that it's a screened-in porch. Yes, it says a 3-season addition, but so far I've not found, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have not found that it says screened-in porch. It says a single-story 3-season addition to the dwelling. If we had been given, if I had the information that it was a screened-in porch, then that changes things. I actually wrote, and I think I actually said it, there's a difference between a deck and living space. And I agree that a screened-in porch is a deck that's, screened in. That, again, that makes a difference to me, but should have been included in the planning report. And I'll apologize right now if it's in there and I missed it. Thank you.
I'll get some clear. Thank you, Member Allen. I can go back to the applicant's agent and Marie, do you have anything to follow up to that?
Yes, I think, Mr. Chair, that, sorry, I just didn't know if I was on mute or not.
No, go ahead.
I'm gonna let the property owner speak to exactly what materials they're talking about using, because I certainly don't want to mislead committee either. But notwithstanding either, I really concur with Planner Rapke. As a planner, I often have difficulty with setbacks that have been arbitrarily set and not based on any science or criteria. The Conservation Authority does have science. They do have mapping. They do know where the lands flood based on the models and what goes into the modeling for hazard lands. So it's really, really important that we rely on information that can be backed up. Rather than arbitrarily set setbacks. So I just wanted to echo his comments in that regard, and how we apply the test, and would also agree with Member Allwood that this room is not going to add any more capacity to the septic system, and it's not going to invite any more traffic on the private road. Certainly those are really good things to look at when you're assessing impact for the purposes of applying section 45.2. But I think both Mr. Rapke and our firm have applied those analyses and have determined that there will be no impact. So perhaps, Mr. Chair, you'd like to turn to the applicant to ask about specific building materials and designs, because there's a lot that goes into a three-season room.
Sure. Yeah, I will. Thank you for that comment. And Scott, do you have further to add with regards to the conversation that we have? You're on mute.
Hello. Yep. Sorry. Yeah. So we're creating. It's just a single-story dwelling with a dining and living space. Is all we're trying to create. A roof deck up top with with 3-sided windows, just added onto the front of the building. There's no additional bedrooms. There's no additional, addition to the septic system. No additional parking required. It's just some additional living space for our family. That was it. It's not a rental property. It will never be a rental property. It's just our family cottage.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any further comments, Councillor Allen or anybody else?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we're back. The report doesn't say screened in porch. The agent said screened in porch, but now the representative for the owners, or perhaps one of the owners, has now said it's going to be living space. So it's kind of bouncing back and forth here. So it's now sounds like it's not a screened in porch.
I think he said 3 seasons, but I'll get clarity here from Scott. Scott, can you add any further clarity to what you're planning? I think you said 3 season, right?
Yep. So Marie is the head planner at the firm that we hired, and the planner that we used, as she just said, just left on Friday. And I think Marie just misspoke on the use of that. I started this conversation with Matt myself about a year ago, and shared my plans with him, what we were looking to do. And, we needed some additional information to kind of propose the legal way to do this in all of the setbacks, et cetera, that needed to be researched that I didn't have the capabilities to do. So it is a 4-season room. I'm not sure where the 3 season came from. It is just a dining room and a living room, which I haven't changed the plan since the start of that. Again, I think Marie just misspoke on what the use was. I sent Matt my full set of floor plans, what was proposed. So I'm not, was not trying to hide what it was. I sent him elevations and the site plan. I think that was just a misspeak from Marie on the start. Okay.
Yep, no problem. And I see Marie has her hand up. Are you still to speak? And then I'm going to go to our planner, and then I'm going to go back to members. Go ahead.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. Yes, thank you. I did misspeak when in reviewing the report and trying to take over all these files on Friday. It was my understanding that it was 3 season, which typically, means that we don't have insulated walls and it's not a full-time living space. But certainly, I'm glad that the applicant did clarify that. And my sincerest apologies. I was not trying to mislead committee. I was just trying to get as much information across as possible, and probably misread the report myself as I tried to get up to speed.
Okay, no, that's fine. I see there's a picture. There was a picture on the screen sort of showing the layout, and I don't know if there's any questions to that. It's sort of it's going an extra 14 feet toward the water. I'm not sure where the alignment is from the other homes, but I know it did show on the aerial that it is set back a fair piece. So, okay, Marie, did you have anything to add? I see your hand still up before I go to members.
No,
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll lower my hand. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. I just don't want to miss any if there's any other information there. Councillor Alwood, and then I'll go back to Councillor Allen. And then I'm going to go to Planner Rapke. Go ahead, Councillor Alwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I mean, on page 32, it does talk about a 3-season room and the drawings that follow that in the report. When I looked at it, it looked like a sunroom to me, but and the fact that they were calling it a 3-season room, and the Marie had mentioned a screened-in porch, so it seems like it's a little more than that, but it does say on page I think it's 32 of the 51 pages that it is a 3-season room. So that was why I wasn't overly concerned about it. I mean, if it's a 4-season insulated, increasing the living space, again, I'm not sure that there's any additional bathrooms or bedrooms that are added to the space. It's just so I still don't really have any concerns that we're putting pressure on the septic system, but and again, it is set back further than the building line for the adjacent lots, and the Conservation Authority don't have any concerns vis-a-vis the hazard line. So hazard lands rather. So I'll just stop there and listen to other members speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Alwood. Member Rapke, did you have anything you wish to add? It was indicated from Scott that the application that was submitted is what was in the file, and I just wanted, if you have any clarity, I'm not asking you to, if you don't have anything to add, but just for clarity, that's sort of what was confirmed.
Yeah, just to clarify, like my report does say 3-season room. The planning report that I got that info from did say 3-season by Marie's associate. This is probably just a communication breakdown. I would note that from my perspective, whether it's 3 or 4 seasons wouldn't make the difference to my recommendation in this particular scenario.
It's sort of the same footprint, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Scott. You had your hand up. I don't know if you had anything else to add. It's gone now. I was going to.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry, Mayor. Just my comment would be, a building permit's going to be required if this file is approved. That can be a condition of no additional living space or bathrooms added to add any load to the septic system. I know that's one of the main concerns. I don't know if that's a caveat that can be added in on that vote or comment.
Thank you for that comments. I don't know if it's required, but I will go back to the members. Thank you for that added information. Any further comments with regards to the information that's sort of been clarified and the points that have been raised? Anything else with regards to questions, Councillor Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. 3-season addition is mentioned numerous times in the planning report from the proponent. I guess I don't like these files where I've kind of made up my mind and then things get changed partway through and we've only got a few minutes to absorb and think and make a decision. But I guess one final question for the sorry, I think it was Scott. The layout of the cottage now is, I'm assuming the bedrooms are upstairs and the main floor is main living space. I agree that the proposed addition probably isn't going to be bedrooms, but doesn't mean in the future if they decide to sell the cottage that all of a sudden the dining room that was further back in the cottage isn't now made into a bedroom. So it just some of the concerns that, again, we are hearing it all the time about problems around the lake with septics and different things. And I think it's up to this committee to make sure that things are done properly. So yeah, if we could just have a verbal report on what the layout of the cottage is. Thank you.
Okay, so you're asking for a verbal, there's a little bit further information with regards to the cottage. So that would be Scott. Now, and I guess just in clarity, when a building permit is submitted and Planner Repke, that goes through a process, and certainly all the boxes will be checked off, whether there's a requirement to confirm or upgrade the septic. Is that correct?
I would note that when someone rebuilds a cottage, which is relatively common, or they're adding bedrooms, when you're adding more bedroom capacity, a lot of the time that triggers a requirement to upgrade the existing septic, because that's, I believe, what it's based on, which generally speaking with the older septics results in one of those bad ones being ripped out and a better one being put in that's 50+ years improved in terms of standards compared to that, which potentially has the effect of actually making that the effect of leaching nitrates and phosphorus and whatnot into the lake less than what's currently there. Now, that's not 100% always going to be the case, but it is going to be a better system 100% of the time when it's triggered by an increase in bedroom space, which I don't think is going to happen in this scenario, but I just thought I'd note that.
Right. Okay. Any further comments? Did Councillor Allen, did you want some more further clarity from the applicant agent with regards to the layout? Is that, I just want to make sure I don't miss anything here.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So any further comments with regards to this file from committee members? So again, I just want to reiterate that you do have the option to approve, deny, or defer if you wish more information. You always have that option as a committee as well, if you don't think that there's adequate information or you need more. I just want to point that out in a sense of direction to your decision. Seeing there's no other discussions, this is for a minor variance. And so to start off with, your position on this application, Member Clark.
I'm in support of the application for the minor variance.
Okay, Member Allen.
It was close, but I'll support.
Okay, thank you. Member Allwood.
I support the application for a minor variance. Mr. Chair, did we ask for public comments? I lost track in the discussion.
Yes, I did
Okay.
check it off that we went to the public, yes.
Thank you. I apologize for asking that question. There was quite a bit of discussion going on and I lost track of that. Thank you.
No, I checked down to my boxes here as I go down the list, so yes. Member Martin.
We'll support the application.
Okay, thank you. I also support the application. I feel it meets the 4 tests of the minor variance, subject to a 20-day appeal period from this date. If there are no appeals in the next 20 days, then you may proceed with your application for a minor variance. And thank you for attending this evening. So this has been carried. Okay, thank you for that. Our next file is file that's 5.3. And this is with regards to A07 2022 Martin. And Iona Persida. And so this is with regards to, this public meeting was called under section 45 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 as amended with respect to an application for a minor variance A07 2022 affecting lands owned by Ian Martin and Persida Martin, described as being legal description LT 209-210 concession 1 NETSR Artemisia east of GS 126057 Grey Highlands, civic address 772653 Highway 10. The notice of this public meeting was mailed by standard class mail on March 10th, 2022 to the property owner and to all property owners within 120 meters of the subject property, in addition to all agencies and persons identified in the Planning Act. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of Grey Highlands before the minor variance is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the municipality of Grey Highlands to the Ontario Lands Tribunal. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at the public meeting or make written submissions to the municipality of Grey Highlands before the minor variance is passed, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the Ontario Lands Tribunal unless in the opinion of the tribunal there are reasonable grounds to do so. At this time, the municipal planner will explain the purpose and the effect of the proposed minor variance, read the planning report, and advise of any comments received. Planner Rapke.
Thank you. The subject lands are located at the southern limit of the municipality at the northeast corner of Highway 10 and Melanchthon Artemisia town line. Property is roughly 40 hectares in area and contains an existing dwelling, farm outbuildings, a cow barn, and a wind turbine. The proposal is to construct a new barn to the northwest of the existing barn. The existing barn is to be demolished. MDS 2 calculations have been provided for the proposed new barn. The new barn does not meet MDS requirements in relation to the existing church located in Southgate to the southwest of the subject property. The proposal requests relief from MDS 2 requirements to situate the barn in the desired location. So the purpose and effect is as follows: to permit a new livestock barn to be located a minimum distance of 285 meters from the church to the southwest, whereas the applicable MDS formula under the zoning bylaw requires a minimum setback of 370 meters from the established type B land use. The barn will house 160 beef cows and 8 horses. So in my review of this one, initially when I was speaking with the applicant, I thought this was kind of clearly just not complying with MDS. But as I got into the formula and looked at the situation, there's an existing barn with a certain capacity. The applicant tells me the previous owner used to have 100 head of cattle in there. I ran a calculation using just 80 cows, If you did an MDS2 calculation as if it were a barn expansion, this actually meets MDS2, even if it were at the location of the existing barn. When you do, so that's going from 80 cows to 160 cows. The setback would, I can't remember what it is off the top of my head here, 250 meters, let's say. But if you're going from 0 cows to 160, the same endpoint, all of a sudden the MDS is like 350. So MDS, it has this variable in there that when it is the first livestock use on the property, it has a buffering of the required distance. Whereas if there's an established one and it's an expansion to the same amount, it's lesser. This is really an expansion, given that there's a current barn already there, even though it's a whole brand new building by removing the other one. So if you look at it from that perspective, it's kind of complying with the intent of and the spirit of the MDS whole formula there. And it meets that setback under those parameters. They also did reach out to the church. They got a letter from the leader saying that they didn't have any concerns with the proposal. So that was a good thing to check on. So in my opinion, it met the 4 tests of meeting the general intent of the zoning bylaw. The official plan, it's minor in nature and it's generally desirable for the development of the land. In terms of comments received, Grey County commented the subject lands are designated agricultural and hazard lands. The County OP states that new land uses, including the creation of lots and new or expanding livestock facilities, shall comply with the provincial MDS formula. Subject proposal is seeking a variance from MDS in order to permit a cattle barn to be constructed within 285 meters of an existing church, whereas 370 meters is required. Under the provincial MDS guideline document, additional guidance is provided when considering a reduction to MDS setbacks. Areas to consider include the following. Is the MDS setback really necessary, or should another suitable alternative location be considered? Is the reduced setback going to impact the type, size, or intensity of agricultural uses in the surrounding area? Is the reduced setback going to impact flexibility for existing or future agricultural operations, including their ability to expand if desired? If this reduced setback is allowed, will it set precedent for others in the local community? Staff have reviewed the letter accompanying the application. Within the provincial document, there's recognition around why livestock facilities may not meet MDS setback requirements, especially for existing operations that are looking to expand. It appears efforts have been made to consider noise and odor mitigation, and the new barn would be situated further away from the existing church by approximately 90 feet when compared to the existing barn. The manure storage would be covered and situated on the far end of the barn. Generally, staff see there being some flexibility to reduce MDS setback requirements on a case-by-case basis. Provided the municipality agrees with the proposed change, county staff have no concerns. Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority, they provided a long version of their comments in regards to the hazard lands in their regulated area. They note the proposal is acceptable to SVCA. Grey Highlands Building Services comments, the applicant is to be advised that a building permit will be required for the proposed construction and must comply to the requirements in the Ontario Building Code. Grey Highlands Transportation comments, the applicant is to be advised that there appears to be sufficient road access from the existing Highway 10 entrance, and the additional entrance from the Langton Artemisia Town Line would not be approved by TPS staff. Ministry of Transportation comments, the proposal is being considered in accordance with the requirements of the Public Transportation Highway Improvement Act, MTO's Highway Access Management Guidelines, and all related policies. The following outlines are comments. Subject property is located within MTO's permit control area, and as such, MTO review, approval, and permits are required before any development activities take place on site. MTO have no objection to the minor variance application. Based on the site plan submitted along with the application and upon approval of the minor variance, it is anticipated the following MTO permits will be required. An MTO building and land use permit will be required for the demolition of the existing residence and new construction. An MTO entrance permit will be required to define access to a farmstead. No further access to Highway 10 will be permitted. That's their comments. I'm assuming they meant to say demolition of the existing barn. I don't think the residence was proposed.
Right.
In conclusion, the recommendation, I believe it meets the 4 tests. The recommendation is that it be approved. I did put a condition that the existing livestock barn be demolished, should you choose to keep that condition.
Okay. Thank you for that then. Any questions from committee members to the plenary report? Go ahead, Member Allen and Member Alway.
and the existing barn is gone. I noticed that the other day. One little correction in the report on the top of page 2. It says the proposal is to construct a new barn to the northwest of the existing barn. It's actually to the northeast.
Yeah, because it's on an angle.
Yeah, and it's getting further away from the church, not closer, so. Other than that, it's perfect.
Yeah, I was on that site last year because there was an auction sale and I bought some stuff, so I know that farm very well.
I helped
barn
put the
was there.
steel, I helped put the steel on that barn roof 40 something years ago.
Wow, you know it well then too. Other comments from committee members? Sorry, member Alwyn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I was going to add that there wasn't much of the old barn left, but it does say on page 8 of 25 that the existing house is to be removed. So I think there will be a new house, a proposed new house indicated. But I noticed that the TPS said that an additional entrance off at the town line would not be permitted. But those are my only comments at this point.
Any comments, Planner Rapke, on that?
Not much to add. That'll get addressed if they go to apply for an entrance permit by the transportation department.
And it depends whether it's for a field entrance or it's for other reasons, right? Commercial or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments to the planning report at this time from committee members? All right. At this time, the committee will hear any presentation by the applicant or their agent. Is there somebody wishing to speak to this application?
So we have 2 people left in attendance. So if either of you are wanting to speak, if you could raise your hand. Not seeing any hands at this time.
Okay, hopefully if they are representing this file, there may be questions to that as well. Before I go to the anybody from the public, Member Martin, do you have a comment?
I had a very easy question for the planner. Further MDS calculations will not be required if they are putting a different house location on this property, right?
MDS is not measured between a livestock facility and a house on the same lot.
Okay, I just wanted to make absolutely certain, and I wanted that said out loud so that we don't have to think about having to see this again.
Right. Okay. All right, so I'll move on here. So any person present wishing to object, support, or have general questions of the minor variance, please indicate and state your name and address. Is there anybody here from the public wish to speak?
Still not seeing any hands.
Okay. All right. Is there any, okay, so there's nobody from the public. Any further discussion on the proposed application from committee members? Okay, seeing none. So then again, this is for a minor variance. So then their position on this application, Member Martin.
Sorry, I support the application.
Okay, thank you. Member Allwood.
I support the application for the minor variance.
Thank you. Member Clark.
Yes, I support the application for the minor variance.
Okay, thank you. Member Allen.
I also support the application.
Okay, thank you. As Member McQueen, the chair, I also support the application for the minor variance. If there are any appeals during the next 20 days, if there are no appeals during that time, the minor variance may proceed forward, and this application has been carried. All right, so then moving back to our agenda, then I would say that, hang on, I just gotta pull it back up here. There is no other business. Is there any other business from the committee? All right, our next meeting is, sorry, Member Martin?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, I just wanted, just with the conversation that we've had tonight, I'm just wondering if our planner might be able to put something very brief together for us on the requirements around posting. I know there's different requirements around posting and around mail outs to the neighbors and stuff like that. So I'm just wondering if we can ask Matt, in his free time to put together something very simple, Matt, that's all I'm looking for, just to clarify the differences for us.
So we have done that, and it was trying, and maybe Matt, you want to explain that, because I think Dagmar also, they were supposed to take a picture and send that in, and it's checked out. But I'll leave that to Planner Repke and maybe Dagmar.
Well, if it's in my free time, I won't be able to give you any report because I don't have any. But I'll come up with some. Like, it's all in the act, so it'll take me 15 minutes to skim through and find the spots and paste them into something to have a memo to speak to at next meeting if you'd like.
But we have gone through the requirements. Like, I think it was raised that when it gets mailed out, you're supposed to take a picture of it after it's posted. And maybe Dagmar, can you speak to that as well? Because I thought we did make some changes that sort of tightened that up.
And that's all I'm wondering, Mr. Chair, is if we could have something just memo format, just so as committee members, we know what the staff is doing as well on their end, so that we don't have to raise the question of, hey, we didn't see the posting at the site, but maybe, you guys have already looked at it at the staff level, which is great, right? It just prevents that sort of conversation from happening again.
And a refresh is good. Dagmar, do you have anything to add to that? And
No, I'm not sure what was put together before, but I can confirm that we require an affidavit plus a photo from the location where the sign is posted.
Right. And that's the part I remember as well. Member Allen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I think I don't know if we can put more of a requirement on people, but it's one thing, 3 or 4 weeks before the meeting to go and staple something up to a tree and take a picture of it. Of course, when they take the picture, it's there, but it could blow off that night. And there's obviously a reason that it needs to be posted. And I think there should be a little bit of onus on the proponent to make sure that it's, to check it a few times, even if a neighbor checks, because, I know I don't go until, just a few days before the meeting, and especially in a seasonal area, there may not be people up every weekend, and I just think it's, to be fair to neighbors. I know the 120 meters, they get a notification, but if that was the only requirement, then they wouldn't need to post a sign. So I think just a bit more onus on the owner. Thank you.
So Matt, you're prepared to bring a little bit of a memo next meeting, and that's fine. And so if it needs more, then maybe it needs more. If that's what we feel that we need to tighten it up more, if that's something you can do, Planner Repke, that would be great. Any other business? I was looking on the internet trying to find out about this conference coming up in June, and there's not much information there yet. Has anybody found any information? Seems sort of strange. You see the fall, you see September of 2022, but I can't seem to see June. Planner Repke?
Yeah, so we've been looking too, and there's been conflicting, because a couple times you've mentioned kind of the June one, and then I found a link to that, and then when you go to the committee's website, it just shows the fall one. So it's, if any of you figure it out, we'd like to know too.
I might have to make some calls to some of the people I know that and the higher ups, but Member Allwood?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I had given the discussions we had at council on a number of conferences and such like that. I seem to recall that the budget for committee members attending this conference was over and above that. I believe our Cassandra mentioned the last time it was raised, they have a budget for it, and it comes out of that budget as opposed to
And it's like, I think it was decided that everybody would be registered, but we don't need to stay over because it's within driving distance, right? If those that wish to attend, right? So,
In the case of this particular one, yes, but for any of the conferences, the last one was out east there. Sorry, my mind just slipped on where it was, but the last one I attended was Cornwall, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Not that
oh
one.
yeah, that was a couple years back. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
The date I have is 5th, 6th, and 7th of June. That's that first week in June. That's usually, last year it was online. And I know I attended one day. I think, remember Martin, you attended the one day that was by Zoom or whatever, but yeah. Okay, well, I'll see if I can find out some more information and make some calls and go from there. Okay, so going back then, like I said, the next date of our meeting is May 10th. Seeing there's no other business, can I have a motion to adjourn? Member Clark, Member Allwood, all in favor? That's carried, and I'll call that at 6:26. Yeah, thereabouts. Have a good night, everyone. And certainly, if you have any questions, certainly forward to staff at any time during this whole process as committee members. I mean, staff are there to help us out too. So, okay, thank you. Have a great evening.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Good night.
Right on.
Bye now.